Welcome to the Onondaga Nation Arena just outside of Syracuse, New York for one of the marquee matchups of the 2015 World Indoor Lacrosse Championships, the United States against Canada. Canada is the three-time defending world champions and has never lost a game in this tournament, while the USA has a lot to prove and has had this game circled on the calendar for a long time. I'm Chuck Jaffe. I'll be calling today's action with Randy Frazier, former player and assistant coach for the USA and head coach of the U.S. Junior National Team. Let's take a look at tonight's rosters. Randy, the key additions since we last broadcast for the Americans, Casey Powell.
Yeah, that's Casey Powell, four-time first-team All-NLL and one-time MVP of the NLL.
And the MVP of this tournament the last time out,
yes,
even though the U.S. finished third. For the Canadians, well, it's what you're not going to see as we cycle through the Canadians. Canada's roster tonight missing Sean Evans and Curtis Dixon, two powerhouse players on the right-hand side. What would be up with that, Randy?
Well, I'm not sure exactly why they're out of the lineup, but one thing I do know is it puts a tremendous amount of pressure on their two remaining right-handers, Dan Dawson and Dane Smith.
We've got an excited crowd and two teams anxious to prove something, and we'll be back with the opening face-off in just a moment. You're watching the Federation of International Lacrosse 2015 World Lacrosse Championships on the Universal Sports Network. Welcome back to the Onondaga Nation Arena. Chuck Jaffe with Randy Frazier. We're getting ready for tonight's game. Randy, as we said, the Canadians, their scratches, notable tonight because of the right side. The other big lineup change, Matt Vince, arguably the best goalie in the world, in for the Canadians. Now they've got three great goalies. How do you pick who gets what game?
Well, that's a tough chore for the coaching staff. So what we've seen so far is just a straight rotation. giving each guy a game, and then they'll probably make the decision who to move forward with in the medal rounds based on how they play in those previous games.
For the U.S., the other change, quickly, of course, we talked about Casey Powell. Marcus Holman not in the lineup. He's been doing well on the right side. Is that just Casey's in, so Marcus is out?
It looks like it. Marcus has been doing well, but now, having Casey in the lineup is a huge lift for the team, so I expect to see the offense, pick things up, and we'll look for them to score over 10 goals tonight if they hope to win it.
So we're ready to get things rolling as you see Matt Vince, one of the more active goalies, and interesting story himself in that Matt Vince, a goalie on Canada's indoor national team and a defender on Canada's outdoor national team.
Long pole defender. He's an incredible athlete, really fast. You won't notice that tonight, though.
So Jordan McIntosh against CJ Costabile for the opening draw, won back by the Canadians. And now Zach Greer with it, gets it across. And the Canadians will go on the attack. Dan Dawson, captain of the team, is sort of the headliner on offense in terms of running the point, but there's plenty of firepower.
We're going to see the Canadians go mostly lefty strong tonight with only the two righty forwards in the lineup.
That ball down in the corner. Jordan McIntosh gets it to Dawson. And, another thing here when we talk about the U.S. coming up with a shot clock violation, shot clock violations, Randy, are considered wins for the defense, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Anytime, just like basketball, anytime you can keep the offense from getting a shot on net before the 30-second clock goes off, definitely a win for the defense.
Powell's shot stopped by Vince, picked up by Steve Priolo. And the Canadians come forward. Dane Smith. Smith feeds that across. That shot off the post, it appeared, from Mark Matthews. And Canada keeps possession with a fresh 30-second shot clock. The other big scratch for the Canadians tonight, Stéphane LeBlanc. Nice play inside there by Ryan Hotaling, who's playing with no stick. And then it was Jeff Reynolds knocking the ball back to Jake Henhock, the goalie.
Something to note there, we just saw Jordan McIntosh get a run on righty forward. So he's a transition player. So I think with that, the way the lineup shapes up, he's probably going to be running a lot of forward tonight. Otherwise, the other two guys are going to get exhausted.
So that shot wide by Kevin Buchanan. Casey Powell tracks it down, but it will be Canada on offense.
Like to see USA move the ball a little bit more. Those first two possessions, they rushed that first shot, took their first look, and neither of them was successful.
So Matthews shoots that one, saved by Henhock. Picked up by Greg Downing. And the U.S. looks to see if it's got a break and will instead slow things down as Canadian wall of defenders comes out. Canada's defense, not just a wall because of the way they came out, they are particularly large. This is a
large.
big D.
This is a great defense. So we have Steve Priolo, Kyle Rubish, and Chris Corbeil. They're all finalists for the NL Defenseman of the Year. All big, strong guys, smart defenders, and they're just the headliners of a crop of guys that are all big, strong, and tough.
Garrett Thule's shot knocked down. Canada comes back on offense with Dane Smith. U.S. a little bit late to get its defense in. We'll talk about that as well. It opted to press. And now in front, Zach Greer. Good save by Henhock. And they're going to say that Greer finished, of course, in the crease with a push.
They're going to call a penalty on that. I don't like that call at all. Greer went hard underneath. Clean body check from the front. Maybe it was a little bit from behind, but when you're going on net like that, we teach a defenseman to go hard to the body. It was a body check, not a cross check.
So it's Donnie Moss in the box for the United States, 80. And our first look at the Canadians, we've talked about the righties missing. As I said, on the left-hand side, Stéphane LeBlanc missing for the Canadians. A lot of firepower that they've got on the floor and a lot more that they left on the bench tonight.
Yeah, I wonder if it's injuries, resting guys. Oh.
And there's a goal from Benesh on a sweet cut, fed from the left-hand side. Dane Smith with that feed over to Ryan Benesh for the easy finish.
So a really nice skip pass from Matthews down to the righty crease. And then we get a cut right down the middle.
Tiptoes the crease, puts it past Jake Henhock and makes our score 1-0, 3 minutes into this game. McIntosh rolls that ball back, being chased down by Kyle Rubish. Rubish has a tough handle with it, and he's usually automatic on those loose balls. McIntosh pressed by Joel White. The U.S. can't come up with it. Canada does and manages to get that back to McIntosh.
Nice ground ball work by Team Canada there and pick up that loosey.
And Mark Matthews shoots it wide. Picked up by Chris O'Doherty. O'Doherty to Joel White. Joel White, a Syracuse product, plays now for the Georgia Swarm.
Yeah, Joel's one of the best transition players in the NLL. And he's going to need to score a couple of goals tonight to help kind of supplement the USA offense.
Jeff Ratcliffe with it, tied up. Casey Powell comes up with it, 4 on the shot clock, rolls it into the corner. Needed to get that a little further away from Paul Dawson as Canada comes out.
Really haven't seen a good set yet out of the USA offense. It could be a little nerves early on, take those early shots, and some strong defense from the Canadians on that last set.
Dane Smith fed across to Dan Dawson. That shot knocked down in front. Kicked
Good
around.
hustle. Ryan O'Talling, a nice hustle play there to keep the ball alive for his teammate.
The U.S. brings it forward, but because it doesn't catch it cleanly, it will reset the offense. Kevin Buchanan with the ball right now, captain of the U.S. team. Now to Casey Powell.
Good ball movement there. Ball needs to move again.
Fed across, Ratcliffe can't handle it. Buchanan on the wrong side of the floor is the righty side, but basically goes to reset the clock. And now it's a breakaway for the Canadians. And there's a score. Chris Corbeil finishes that pass from Ryan Dilks. And the Canadians get off to a 2-0 lead. 10:05 remaining in the first period.
So something you mentioned, Chuck, Kevin Buchanan took that shot, got the reset. The only problem with when you go for that reset shot, you're risking transition back the other way. All the American forwards were way up in the zone. The ball goes off into the corner. Canada picks it up. They spring it up the floor, and they end up on a 1-on-0 with the goalie, and they're able to bury it.
So we'd had 2 consecutive possessions. The one before that, they were running out of time, and Powell flipped it into the corner. What you're saying is that Buchanan should have done the same thing.
Exactly. That's why they do flip it in the corner. So when you see that happen tonight, you may question, why would they do that? Why would they shoot it on net? The reason is you will not give up transition. When you flip the ball into the corner, you're able to get your offensive players off the floor and your defense on the floor.
How much of that sometimes depends on where guys are on the floor, as Powell's shot is stopped by Matt Vince and picked up by the Canadians? I mean, if you have a safety valve, etc., is it then shoot it?
If your teammates are all higher in the zone and you're not going to give up transition, sure, you can take that shot. But what happens a lot of times is the offensive players are all forcing to the net, cutting to the net, and they end up all low, and that ball comes out, and it creates transition for the defense.
Randy, as you mentioned earlier, Jordan McIntosh playing right-handed forward, at least on this trip up the floor. Fed inside beautifully. Zach Greer finishes that pass. Beautiful behind-the-back feed to Zach Greer inside, and it's 3-0.
Yeah, so you noted that strong side right, which in turn created space for the lefties. And these two guys are teammates in the NLL for Edmonton. They work their little 2-man play. Greer gets inside of his defenseman, a little backhanded flip feed, completely leaks out Henhock, and he's able to put it into a pretty much wide open net.
Team Canada's third goal scored by number 88.
Picked up in the back end by Rubish.
Assist number 42, Mark Matthews.
And now brought forward by Corbeil, who already has a goal today.
From Matthews and Dawson. Time of the goal, 5:42.
Team USA is going to have to do a better job playing team defense. You have to anticipate when the Canadians are working their 2-man game, they're going to get somewhat of an opening, and the players on the other side of the floor, the defensive players, need to come over, help out. If the player gets open down the middle and make a slide to that player and take the body and not allow that shot uncontested in the middle.
Garrett Thule feeds it over to Joe Resiteritz. 13 on the shot clock as the U.S. really gets down to business here on this one. Buchanan scores. Kevin Buchanan with a dive and a little after the play, pushing and shoving between Jeff Ratcliffe and Kyle Rubish.
Nice play by Kevin there. So what we saw was a little two-man game. They faked the pick. Kevin takes his man underneath one-on-one. He's able to get across. There's no help there in time. Kind of fakes, leans to the far side, and just pulls a stick across his body to the short side. That's kind of signature Kevin Buchanan.
Yeah, Kevin Buchanan, you have to worry about his outside shot because he's such a good catch-and-shoot guy. But then you also have that other side when, as you just saw there, he can drive to the inside.
Yeah, and he's really good on that underneath move with that reach to the far side, reach and lean to the far side, and he brings it back short side.
McIntosh moved early, so it will be the United States back with the ball, trailing 3-1, 8:17 remaining in the first period. Joe Walters, who is the U.S. leading scorer, 6 goals and 12 assists coming in tonight. Kevin Buchanan's shot kicked away by Matt Vince. Buchanan.
Nice play by Kevin to keep that ball alive. Canadians hustle hard,
and now we're
get the
going
ball
to see a
back,
penalty.
and they draw a penalty. Oh, and a shot.
And a goal.
Kind of an unfortunate development there for Team USA. They hustle hard on that loose ball, keep the ball loose, and they're not able to pick the ball up, and Canada ends up getting it uncontested to the goal.
Rolls right out to Jordan McIntosh. And he comes, nice, easy finish for
Short
Jordan.
side, far side, short side.
So yeah, faked to the short side, then to the far side, put it on the short side. And you know, you were talking about Joel White being one of the best transition men. We've got Jordan McIntosh playing forward tonight, mostly, although he's taking draws as well. He was 2013 and 14 Transition Player of the Year in the National Lacrosse League.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal player, plays both ends of the floor really well. He's able to also take faceoffs. I mean, what an asset to a team to have a talent like that.
So the penalty that we saw that was being called, waved off by the goal. And a little too much action there with Adam Jones as he was setting up with a push. That's going to bring us to a break in the action. Our score here at Onondaga Nation Arena, 4-1 in favor of Canada. You're watching the 2015 World Indoor Lacrosse Championships on Universal Sports Network. Welcome back to the 2015 World Indoor Lacrosse Championships. And you know, here on the Onondaga Nation at exit 16 off of Route 81 in upstate New York, they set up a whole village of Haudenosaunee vendors and beadwork, crafts, baskets, and much, much more. They'll be here through this Saturday, the 26th, and that's the last day. Parking at Green Hills Plaza for $5, free shuttle, no charge for the festival. If you are a lacrosse fan right now, this is the place to be. Back to the action here on the Universal Sports Network. United States goes on the attack, trailing 4-1. Blaze Reardon with that ball. Gives it back to Thule. Thule's shot goes wide. Brought up the floor by Brad Self. And Self takes it himself. Henhock with a nice save there.
Brad Self, see, he's a real aggressive shooter. Whenever he gets in transition and he gets a chance to take that shot, he's gonna rip the shot. So hopefully USA realizes that, and they'll pick him up, and Henhock will be ready when he gets down there on transition.
They just made an announcement. It will not be Henhock who's ready. It's David Mather in the cage now for the United States. You have to wonder why they would make that change this early in this game. Henhock has been playing well.
You know, it's been a long tournament. for Jason. He's logged most of the minutes, so maybe they just want to get a fresh goalie in there. This is a big test.
I'm wondering as well if perhaps Henhock may be shaken up in that play where he was driven to the ground. We'll try to get a word on that. And there's a goal.
That's Kevin Buchanan again with that similar underneath move. Let's get it on the replay and see how it's set up. But he lays himself out to that far side and brings it back short side. Let's see how he got to the spot.
So takes a quick step. Captain America goes flying.
So what we had there is Walters came over, started to set a pick. The defender hedges. So he basically kind of backs off thinking the pick's going to come. It's very similar to the first goal, and Kevin takes it hard to the rack. Gets a stick free inside. He's able to fake far, bring it back short.
Kevin Buchanan's second goal of the night makes it 4-2.
Assist number 1, Joe Walters. Buchanan from Walters.
Dan Dawson comes up with the ball, flips that down low. McIntosh. And the ball comes up in the stick of Greg Downing. Pressed there by Adam Jones, gets it off.
Good job by Greg getting out of danger there and getting the ball out of his D zone.
So Kevin Buchanan with the ball, comes over the top this time. Gives it over to Resetaritz. Resetaritz is going down low, shoots wide. Ball bounces out. Buchanan with not much pressure, but not much time. Resetaritz hits off of Matt Vince. Ratcliffe swats at the rebound. So it's a fresh 30 if the U.S. can come up with it. But the Canadians instead come away with it in the stick of Paul Dawson.
USA is just falling short on a couple of these loose balls. They're right there able to get it. They're just not able to get the ball into their stick and control it.
Mark Matthews, goal line extended.
If they're going to want to win this game, they really need to get these loose balls, control the loose balls, win the loose ball battle and the possessions.
And the U.S. brings that out. Brian McGill gets the ball over on the far side to O'Doherty. O'Doherty flips it to Casey Powell. Casey Powell's pass knocked down. Ryan Dokes picks up the ball. You don't normally expect that out of Casey.
A sloppy play in the midfield. We don't really want to be careful of those turnovers high in the zone. USA was lucky that the Canadian offensive guys or defenders were subbing, so there was no one to take advantage of that.
Ryan Benesh with the ball. Benesh's feed for McIntosh skips away, but he gets it off the boards. Shoots that wide. Gets the rebound, spins around and can't get it. And here's the United States.
USA is going to need to do a better job on those picks. They had no switch on that pick. Shooter Jordan McIntosh is left right down the middle.
Kevin Buchanan with Joe Walters as the U.S. comes out heavy right, which means Powell, Ratcliffe, and Resetaritz on the right side. Ratcliffe's spin around shot goes wide. Walters gives that up to Buchanan. His shot gets a piece of Vince. Great save by Matt Vince to deny Resetaritz.
Nice rebound shot by Joe there, taking advantage of the defense. Kind of all ball watching Kevin Buchanan shot.
Dane Smith shoots that one wide. Chris O'Doherty comes up with the ball. The United States just unable to, from the looks of things, do you expect we will see a single fast break for the U.S. tonight?
Well, this is the first and the third quarter where the defensive boxes are in the defensive end. It's really hard to generate those clean fast breaks. I'd expect to see more fast breaks for both teams in the second and fourth quarters when the offensive door is closer to the opposition's goal.
Blaze Reardon, his shot hits off Matt Vince and goes out of bounds. Stays with the United States and a fresh 30 on the shot clock. Casey Powell working Brett Metzke. Fed down low. Jeff Ratcliffe scores. Jeff Ratcliffe from Blaze Reardon makes it 4-3 with 2 minutes and 46 seconds left in the first period. A little tic-tac-toe. Powell to Reardon and across.
That's a beautiful play. That's a warm. We need to see more of that tonight for USA. The ball moves from side to side. The goalie's not in position. quick release on the shot, down low. Doesn't have to be a great shot in the corner. He just throws it down low into his leg pads, and it's able to trickle in.
Well, and that kind of shot is not really what Ratcliffe is known for. Ratcliffe's really known as a power forward, drive inside, beat you up, right?
Yeah, he's known for that, but, you know, these guys are all so skilled. They're able to throw that quick stick. If you can't throw a quick stick on, you know, on your spot, you're not going to be on this team.
So, violation on Costabile on the draw, gives the ball back to the Canadians. Jordan McIntosh started things off.
Heavy pick.
Little too much, and a little extracurricular there. But here's the U.S. on a break. Costabile's shot hits Vince in the chest.
Nice fast break there. Good try by CJ. Just needs to get that ball on a pipe, shoot it down the sides.
So a little bit more extracurricular. Costabile going at it a bit.
This is what Team USA needs to do on defense. Be out on their men, be tough.
Dawson's shot.
Eliminate space, close the gaps. So you don't want to have a gap between you and your man. You want to be tight on them.
Randy, last night in this arena, the U.S. trailed England at halftime. How do you explain going from that to being in a one-goal game early still, but, you know, much more competitive so quickly? Because after that one, I think no one was expecting the Americans to give Canada a game.
Wow, that was a trap game last night for Team USA. You know, they probably didn't come out mentally prepared. I'm sure England came out, you know, really fired up, playing hard. Not to mention that England has Nick Rose in the net. He's an starting NLL goalie for the Toronto Rock, and a really good goalie. So I'm sure that both of those, you know, had something to do with it.
Well, it's a game right now with about a minute left, a little more than a minute left in the first period. 13 seconds on the shot clock. McIntosh with the ball for Canada. That one knocked away. And they'll say it was the U.S. that put the ball into the netting behind the net. So the fresh 30-second shot clock for the Canadians.
Kind of first look at Adam Jones. Plays for the Colorado Mammoth.
And there's Banesh. Jones with a nice little flip inside. There's his, sort of as you said, one of the first times we got to see him. And what does he do? Feeds Ryan Banesh for his second goal of the first period.
Yeah, nice little pick and roll there. Actually, off-ball play. Kind of poor defense there. Team USA defender caught no man's land in between him and his man. And ball and his man just rolls to the net. Good feed, good catch. Banesh is just a great shooter inside there. He's real subtle with his fakes, and he's able to pick corners.
So David Mather, who came into the game for Jake Henhock, gives up his first goal. It's 5-3, just under a minute remaining in the first period. So the U.S. goes on the attack. Duel to Walters.
They should take a quick shot here and go for the 2-for-1. Smart.
Had the crowd thinking
Powell, that's a loose ball we have to
missed
have.
the rebound.
Got to have that.
Because they could have
Casey to pick his head up there and not make that play.
The reason that you wanted the quick shot was to get the extra play with the shot clock. Because shot clock currently at 19, just about 24 seconds on the game clock.
So Team Canada won't pull their goalie here because they put themselves at risk.
And there's going to be a penalty coming against the United States. Picked up now by Adam Jones. Jones fires it wide. So we're going to end this period with the U.S. back in the box.
I didn't see much there. I heard it more than saw it.
I
heard
saw
the whack.
I saw it. I just didn't think, given what these guys have been doing and the level of play, it was basically a slightly errant stick.
To the referee's defense, they are trying to protect the player's head. So if there was a slash to the head, they're apt to call that one.
Exactly. Mark Matthews shoots that wide. It's off the back end. And that will end it. So Donnie Moss got that penalty, by the way, his second of the game. When he will be in the box when we come back for the second quarter. Our score is 5-3 in favor of Canada. We've had plenty to cheer about for both sides. A couple of goals from Kevin Buchanan, but it started with the Canadians getting it out Ryan Benesh with his first goal of the game. Chris Corbeil on a breakaway. Beautiful behind-the-back feed from Mark Matthews, finished by Zach Greer, and then Captain America, Kevin Buchanan. That was his first flying goal. This is his second flying goal. Made it a one-goal game after we got that goal from Jeff Ratcliffe, and then finally Ryan Benesh with his second to make it 5-3. We'll be back with the second quarter. You're watching the 2015 World Indoor Lacrosse Championships on Universal Sports Network. Welcome back to the Onondaga Nation Arena, just outside of Syracuse, New York. Your score, Canada 5, United States 3 in pool play for the 2015 Federation of Indoor Lacrosse World Indoor Lacrosse Championships. David Mathers still in the cage for the United States. Ryan Hotaling shoved into the boards.
Yeah, that'll be a push from behind. That's the USA ball. Hey, Chuck, just a who's who of lacrosse out here tonight. Just sitting below us, we see Syracuse head coach John Desko. I see Bill Day, Charlie Lockwood in the house. A lot of great players, Hall of Famers here watching the lacrosse tonight.
And Billy Day, a former pro box lacrosse player, former coach of the Boston Cannons. Charlie Lockwood, a Syracuse legend. And of course, Desko, the current Syracuse University head coach. And folks, if you haven't been out to the Onondaga Nation, we encourage you to come. It is a great celebration of lacrosse here. It's here all week, finishing up on Sunday the 27th. Finishing on Sunday the 27th with the gold medal game at the Carrier Dome, and you'll be able to watch it live on Universal Sports Network. Adam Jones' shot kicked away by David Mather.
Nice little set play there by Team Canada. Double picks high, and they roll a guy off on the pick right down the middle. Benesh gets a great shot.
Dan
really
Dawson sneaks behind the cage. Matthews up high. Down low to Dawson. Fed in front. Little touch play. Nice save by Mather to stop that one.
Two strong saves by Mathers inside.
So Joel White brings the ball forward. Oh, rings it off the post.
It's a live ball.
It's a foot race.
Nice hustle play.
Joel White
to chase that ball down.
Joel White and Steve Priolo, two guys that are going to run down a lot of loose balls in any game at any time. Blaze Reardon passes that down low.
They want to burn the 30 here. Keep that high-powered Canadian power play on the bench.
Reardon with it. His shot stopped by Matt Vince. Only 5 seconds remaining in the power play.
So
they got the reset, and now they're going to just stand and play and wait, and here comes Joe Walter for even strength again.
That's a big momentum boost for Team USA to kill that power play.
Kevin Buchanan
Kevin's got to be feeling it.
gives it to Walters, fed across, over the top. That Resiteris shot stopped by his Rochester Nighthawks teammate, Matt Vince.
That's a good shot, high percentage shot there. Move the ball from side to side, quick release. Goalie's got to see it, adjust.
Dan Dawson with the ball. Dawson back high, which is where he usually is, but he was low on the last offensive set. McIntosh with the ball. Righty strong right now for the Canadians. McIntosh looking to go under, and he scores. Jordan McIntosh, nice one-on-one move, goes to the rack, flies around David Mather, and makes it a 6-3 game.
Nice one-on-one move there. I was just about to say that Team USA was handling the two-man and three-man games really well. Problem is, you start worrying about switching. You get a little bump there, you lose positioning, you lose his inside positioning. Jordan's able to just lay his body across the goal and beat Mathers into the far pipe.
There's not much that a goalie can do there. Try to get that extra arm, that chicken wing up. But
Canada's sixth goal, his second of the contest.
McIntosh has scored his second. Of course, he can be a transition player. Obviously, he can be a forward. Ryan Hotaling picks it up, that big cheer. Hotaling, a local product. Very sloppy play right there. Dan Coates with a nice stick. He's the one fighting it out with Brian McGill.
Ah, good play. He didn't give up on the play, he was able to draw a hold and get the ball back to his team.
But McGill had thrown a bounce pass that Coates knocked down, and that's ultimately why that scrum was necessary. Over the top from Casey Powell, stopped by Vince, picked up by Walters with a fresh 30-second shot clock. Kevin Buchanan.
Great hitch move.
Shoots it wide, and that's going to go all the way down. That'll create a stoppage of play for an over and back violation.
See, that's two shots in a row there, one by Casey, one by Bucky. We're running and shooting. We're not doing it off a pass. We're running and shooting. Goalie's got a good look out of it. Neither of them are really high percentage shots.
So Canada goes back on the attack. They are again righty strong. That means three righties. So Dane Smith, who's got the ball now with McIntosh and Dawson. Fed in front this time, and a goal. Ryan Benesh has a hat trick as he finishes that little inside feed from Dane Smith and makes our score Canada 7, the United States 3.
Great cut by Benesh on that to get inside position. I'm not sure here. We'll see on the replay. They work a little two-man game. Defenders get caught ball watching. Moss just gets beat down the middle. Nice one-timer. Mathers has no chance at that kind of shot. If the shot doesn't hit him in that position, it's going to go to the back of the net.
Well, and the other side there for young shooters, I think you would tell folks it's important, is that Benesh shot it back to the side from it that he was coming from. So as the goalie starts to move, that's part of the reason why that opens up.
Yeah,
right?
He beats him to that side.
So Garrett Thule comes down with it. He is absolutely being dogged, but gets the ball off to Joe Walters. Resiteris, it's important for the U.S. to not let this game get away from them. They've been playing well to this point.
Yeah, I believe USA will stick to their game plan. They won't get frantic. They'll continue to play hard, try to play smart, make the right play.
And Joe Walters, a little too much club. Gets that ball up into the netting.
Yeah, Joe realized the shot clock was late there, so he kind of threw a shot that really had no great chance of going in.
Moss pressing, and here's Dane Smith on the right-hand side. Fed in front, missed, but picked up, and then back to Dane Smith. He comes over the top, ball knocked down, and Greg Downing will pick it up.
See if USA can get their guys on the floor so they have a little bit more time to work their offense. They've really been getting on the floor late. Again, they're just late again. It's only going to be 15 seconds by the time they get everyone on the floor. It's not a lot of time to work with.
Buchanan gets that ball down. Ratcliffe is capable of the dive. They're worried about it. He tries it there. The ball is led ahead to the Canadians.
It's going to be a 2-on-1, 3-on-2.
Fed across. Dan Coates can't cover it. Corbeil grabs it. Gets that back.
Canada had the trailer coming down the middle there. They missed him. Now they don't have a lot of time on their set.
So they actually just kept their transition guys mostly out there. They only have about half their offense in. Adam Jones is one of those guys. He takes a shot. Now if he gets this, as he just did, now you'll see at least one comes off.
Yep.
And there's the second, as both the extra transition guys stayed there because of the short clock.
Here's this dangerous two-man on the left side. Skip pass.
And there's a goal. Dane Smith over the top beats Mathers along his glove hand. And our score now 8-3. There's 9 minutes and 7 seconds remaining in the first half.
So you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't here. This time USA kind of looks to help on the two-man game. So the middleman on the strong side is looking over, peeking over to help, and they skip it across to his man. He has time and room, and he's able to get a good shot off to the far pipe.
And Mather made a mistake there that basically was he got his hand away from his body. You kind of want to be a solid wall as best you can. That snuck between his hand and his body. And that's something that experienced goalies really work very hard on. And at some point we need to talk about the U.S. and the development of a goalie. I know you with the U.S. junior national team are very excited about some of your goalie prospects, but goaltending is where the U.S. has a problem or is not as skilled as many of the other countries here.
Yes, you're right. I mean, historically, we've been a little behind in that position. I think there's a really good goalie, Graham Husick out of Seattle, and he plays up north in the Western League in Canada, and he just played for me in the U19s, and he's just an outstanding goalie and did a really good job for us. And he almost actually played on this team, but coaching staff kind of thought it might be a little bit much for him at 19 years old.
And there's a goal. Really nifty feed to Joe Walters, who somehow squeezes it by Matt Vince. Just what the United States needed.
Yeah, good shot off of ball movement. Let's see what we can see what developed here on the replay.
It's a nifty feed here.
Casey Powell, nice behind the back feed. The defense is all caught inside. Joe's able to one-time it near pipe low.
And of course, I say it's a nifty feed. Isn't every feed by Casey Powell done with a flourish to some extent?
Yeah, Casey is the epitome of a triple threat. He's always a threat to shoot, pass, or dodge. And over the years, I think his ability to pass has become stronger and stronger. He really sees the field. He understands the game at a high level, and he's able to find his teammates.
So Powell and Resiteritz get the assists on that goal by Joe Walters. And Canada comes back out. There's going to be a delayed penalty to the United States. So Vince has come to the bench.
USA will zone it up.
6-on-5, fed in front. Greer shot. And the shot clock expires.
Great handle by Greer inside there. He's able to catch that ball, take the hit, throw behind the back, and almost put it in.
So we have a penalty upcoming on the United States, but we have timeout on the floor. We will take it with them. Our score, Canada 8, the United States 4, 7:37 remaining in the first half. You're watching the 2015 World Indoor Lacrosse Championships on the Universal Sports Network. And we're back at the Onondaga Nation Arena, just outside of Syracuse. I'm Chuck Jaffe, joined by Randy Frazier, former player and assistant coach for Team USA, head coach of the U.S. Junior National Team. Canada starts out here on the man up with Greg Downing in the box.
USA working the diamond. It's great to see this. This is a high-level defense.
And that's why you do it. And it comes out, the bobbled ball, basically batted ball, came out to Benesh. Adam Jones' shot stopped by Mather.
They got to get in those passing lanes. You don't want, as a defense, you don't want to let those skip passes get through.
So on the diamond for the defense, and Canada running a play against it. Feeds it in front, and that's another goal for Benesh. Benesh from Dawson.
It's just a tough power play to stop. I mean, they covered the cut really well. Benesh's stick, the man is across his body. His stick is open. Dawson puts it right on his stick. He's able to handle it high on one time and over Mather's shoulder.
And
great play.
Puts it in the net before he lands in the crease. To make our score 9-4 in favor of Canada. 7 minutes remaining in the first period.
Just such a potent group, and they're all experienced. They all know where to go, how to react, what play to make when the defense moves one way. They know how to counter it and get in good positions.
This is the fourth time that we've had the World Indoor Lacrosse Championships. Canada has not only won every previous World Championship, they have never lost a game. And you're sort of seeing why tonight. That pass errant goes into the corner. 5 on the shot clock with Dawson with the ball. And they call Dawson for warding off, a little offensive push.
USA has beaten Canada in an international game. There's a game called the Heritage Cup. It used to be an annual game that they had in Colorado. And the very first year, USA upset Canada. And so there was one glimpse of brightness for Team USA versus Canada.
This offensive possession for Canada, Brad Self made a great play to sort of strip the United States and start what wound up being a delayed break. Nice stick work there by Joel White to both deflect the ball and then keep it from going back to a Canada player. And we've got a penalty coming to Canada. So at least the refs have been consistent with this one. This was another sort of oops, I hit you in the face kind of a penalty, not the big slash, etc. So the U.S. with 6 on 5 here. Casey Powell down low. Cool shot over the top. Winds up back with Joe Walters. 5 on the shot clock. Shot by Kevin Buchanan. Gets that rebound.
Nice ground ball. Be patient with this.
And gets stolen in the middle by Kyle Rubish. The active stick of Kyle Rubish. And so that ends the 6 on 5, but the U.S. will have a man advantage.
USA just showing their inexperience there. In that situation, you don't want to make a risky pass. You want to get the ball back on the outside and work a rotation, work some picks.
Adam Jones in the box for Canada for a slash. That check to the head.
Canada penalty number 89.
And so U.S. with heavy right with Powell, who shot just missed and trying to run it down. Can't, and here's a breakaway for the Canadians. Corbeil scores his second of the game. Chris Corbeil, 2 breakaways, 2 goals. And this is something that plagued the United States last night, Randy. We've talked about this game against England, and you said, well, it's a trap game. But here you watch the breakaway. Last night, when the U.S. went down to England in the first half, 4 of the 7 goals they gave away were shorthanded, or in one case, right as the shorthanded period expired.
Yeah, the power play has not looked good so far in these World Games. They really need to get that together if they're gonna hope to medal.
Canada's 10th goal. A short-handed marker, his second.
Again, that was a shot from Casey Powell off a no ball movement. He thought he saw some kind of lane. He winds up to shoot, and the defense steps right in the lane. They stuff his shot, and then he gets a little overzealous trying to pick up the loose ball and play the defender. He goes for all or nothing. He misses it and gives up a clean 1-on-0 with the goalie.
So Canada killing clock right now because Corbeil's in the box. Dawson with the ball. A lot of pushing and shoving in front between Mark Matthews and a couple of members of the U.S. team.
Still a lot of time in this game, and 5 minutes left in this quarter. They have a minute left on their power play, so we need to continue to look for good shots, work together as a team, and hopefully crawl back into this game. Just get one goal at a time.
Joe Walters with it. Back from Powell. And Powell keeps that ball, so a fresh 30-second shot clock for the United States.
I'd like to see Team USA get into some kind of set play. It seems like they're just freelancing the ball.
And Buchanan took a shot into the face, but they didn't call it. And there's a score for Resetaritz. Frank Resetaritz, stand and shoot, hands apart. Took the ball from Powell.
Nice look by Casey Powell. So Canada's playing a straight box, which means at the top they're playing 3 versus 2. So we had the top left-handed shooter draws a man. Casey Powell draws a man. He throws it behind his back quickly. Resetaritz has got his hands free. He's able to pick his spot on the far side and shoot it over.
And a very nice, just under the crossbar, just inside the corner kind of shot from Resetaritz.
Yeah, what really helps the speed of that is the backhanded feed. If you throw that forehanded across your face, the defense gives them just enough time to get back into that shooting lane and take that away.
So McIntosh kicks that ball ahead. It winds up in the stick of Matthews right by the Canadian bench, doubled by Hotaling and Moss, and then picked up. That's Joel White with the ball. Doesn't have a breakaway, so he'll slow things down. And Resetaritz over to Walters, 17 on the shot clock. Kevin Buchanan, nice move, ankle-breaking move.
Wow.
But Vince with a great save, and the ball comes out in the stick of Brad Self. Self loves to push it.
What a great change of direction from Kevin Buchanan there. Really threw a crazy hitch move to get to the middle.
When you talk about breaking ankles, that would have been one. They could have done it for somebody. Benesh with a bunch of goals, but they say off the ball a little too much, and they give the ball back to the United States. Under 3 minutes remaining in the first half.
They let you get away with some movement on your picks. You just can't completely blow the guy out, and it's kind of advantage, and then they felt that the offense got too much of an advantage.
Powell down low to Buchanan, 11 on the shot clock. Fed across, Resetaritz can't handle it. Powell picks it up, not much time, 4 on the shot clock, needs to move it, and heaves it across. I think he was hoping to get a foul on that, but nothing called. So Canada brings it forward with Paul Dawson. Paul Dawson, an interesting story. He's a longtime National Lacrosse League All-Star, but he was originally drafted in this league as a goalie, into the NLL as a goalie.
Yeah, Paul played for the Blazers back in the day, and I've had the pleasure of coaching Paul and being around Paul. He's a really super kid, super guy, tough defender. Not a guy who will drop
picked
the
up by
gloves
Joel White.
game.
There's going to be a foul there. The U.S. has numbers. And White. And they called a goal.
It's going to be in the crease. Joel White was in the crease.
The one referee called it a goal. The ball crossed where the goal would be. That's what is necessary to have a goal. The other goalie says he was in the crease. Let's see what happens here.
Well, Joel White's laying in the crease, so it's definitely not going to be a goal.
Yeah, definitely not, because he's down there when the ball is then picked up, and the ball gets over, as you see. So, under any circumstance, it'll be Joel White who earned the United States that penalty. They're going to be back on the man up with 1:41 remaining in the first period, or in the first half, rather.
Exciting play. Joel White showing some intensity there. He got whacked in the head, and he just put it into fifth gear, and he was going to the goal.
Yeah,
got underneath his man.
And he made that layout with his chin strap flying and everything else. So, you know, unafraid to sacrifice the body, which you need to be to play at this level.
Big opportunity on the power here for USA. Get back in this game.
Mark Matthews got that foul. Walters to Powell to Walters, and he scores. The U.S. cuts the gap back to 4. Nice little back and forth action, setting up Walters, who just sniped the right side just beyond Matt Vince's leg.
Yeah, we had a great angle on that one. I could just tell as he received that ball, he was going to put it in. Just a certain amount of confidence. They got them working that box. Nice release by Joe. See that one defender, 22, was caught between trying to cover 2. And then before Kyle Rubis tried to get in the shooting lane, he actually screened Vince on that one.
Well, and Randy, you saw a bunch of back and forth passes there, and sometimes people think those little quick passes don't do anything. But in this game, they do something, don't they? I mean, they all have a little movement to them.
Yeah, the inside passing in box and cross is a real integral part of the game. And you
Another
throw it to
penalty
a spot.
coming on the Canadians. Blaze Reardon was pushed to the ground.
Yeah, Team Canada getting a little unraveled here. Billy D. Smith being an enforcer, trying to be an enforcer. He's got to keep his head. Billy D is definitely known for his toughness, and he's also known for at times losing his temper and making a play that hurts his team. He needs to be smart in this situation.
At this point, you saw as that scrum ensued, one of the points that you have made in this tournament is with no fighting rules. There are many times when you see some pushing and shoving back and forth, and the refs kind of look to even it out. In this case, I wonder if that's what he was doing. Once there was the initial penalty call, see if you can get somebody to retaliate enough to not take that penalty. Does that happen at all?
Oh yeah, that definitely happens, and that's what we call. You got to be tough. It's not just it's one thing to take a punch. It's one thing to give a punch, but the tough guy is the guy who can take a punch and then not react and make sure that his team ends up with that man up.
So the United States will have the ball and the man up. There's 1 minute and 1 second remaining in the first half.
Casey Powell down here below us dialing his stick in. I wonder if it's one of the new Powell heads that he's got a new venture. He's got his own lacrosse company where he's selling heads and handles.
Well, he has been dialing it in all day. When I got here hours ago, he was outside with a whole bag of sticks, basically playing catch, trying to find the one he liked the best. That one shot over the back by Powell. Stick not dialed in, obviously.
How is that not a push? There it is. Ratcliffe's launched into the boards there.
So let's talk about these penalties, because they did do the offsetting penalties. Great stop by Vince going post to post to deny Jeff Ratcliffe.
Team Canada did a nice job there. They adjusted to the diamond because they got burned on the box the last couple times. And that opened up the cross crease pass. So USA countered it, made a really good play, hitting the cross crease. Vince is just able to move across and make the stop.
So Canada has called a timeout. It's showing a fresh 30-second shot clock. I don't know why it would show a fresh 30. But we will come back, sort it all out, fill you in on what's going on. We've got 22 seconds remaining in the first half. Our score, Canada 10, United States 6. You're watching the 2015 World Indoor Lacrosse Championships on the Universal Sports Network. We're back at the Onondaga Nation Arena. Chuck Jaffe with Randy Frazier, 10-6 our score. Canada with the ball, the U.S. on the man up. Brett Midsky went to the box for 2 minutes, and then we did have matching penalties between Blaze Reardon and Billy D. Smith. So you wound up with those two sitting out. That's why we're only 5-on-4 match penalties. They don't take extra players off the floor. They just send the guys to the box.
Sorry, Chuck. Gutsy call here by Team Canada. They're pulling their goalie to go 5-on-5. So they do not have the man advantage on the offensive end here. So this is a very risky play.
And they reset the shot clock to show 22 seconds. So 22 seconds on the shot clock, 22 seconds, just a hair over 22 seconds on the game clock.
Canada's goal is empty.
You always say nobody makes a move till 8 seconds remaining.
USA should have came out and pressured that ball.
For just that reason. 5 seconds left, Fed in front. Jordan McIntosh can't finish that. And we get to the end of the half. So the U.S. will have about a minute's worth of penalty time, or man-up time, rather, when we get to the second half. When we get to halftime, and your score here at Onondaga Nation Arena, Canada 10, the USA 6. You're watching the 2015 World Indoor Lacrosse Championships on Universal Sports Network. We're back at Onondaga Arena. Lots to cheer about, and it started for the Canadians with this goal from Ryan Benesh. Benesh has scored a number in the first half, including this one. Or actually, that's Zach. Let's do it again. Re-rack it. Sorry. My bad. Lots to cheer about in this first half, especially for the Canadians, who got started on a goal by Ryan Benesh and then added to their lead from Chris Corbeil. Then Zach Greer finished a nifty behind-the-back pass for Mark Matthews before the U.S. got on the goal on the board with Kevin Buchanan's flying shot. Jordan McIntosh scored the first of his two before Captain America did it again. At that point, the United States got one from Jeff Ratcliffe and seemed to be making things tighter, but Canada came back and stretched its lead. It was Benesh again, still in the first period, and then McIntosh with his second goal. Then Benesh on the feeding side to Dane Smith before the U.S. came back with one here. Joe Walters scoring on a Casey Powell feed. After that, it was Benesh finishing his hat trick on a nice feed. And then it was Corbeil with his second long run, ending with his second in-tight goal against David Mather, the second-string U.S. goalie who came in early. Frank Resiteritz helped to bring things back tighter. And then it was Joe Walters with his second of the game. That gets us to 10-6, which is where we stand as we go towards the second half. You're watching the 2015 World Indoor Lacrosse Championships on the Universal Sports Network. Here on the Nation at exit 16 off Route 81, they've set up a whole village of Haudenosaunee vendors with beadwork and baskets, crafts, art, clothing, and more. This coming Saturday, the 26th, will be the last day of this phenomenal fair. Parking at Green Hills Plaza is $5, and there are free shuttles. There's no charge for the festival. 3, 2, 1. Right here on Universal Sports Television, we'll be carrying the gold medal game on Sunday the 27th, live at 4 p.m. Eastern from the Syracuse University Carrier Dome. 3, 2, 1. The Syracuse community has really come out to support the World Indoor Lacrosse Championships, like the Upstate Medical University, which has been providing the international athletes with incredible care. And the city has gone all out with a mini Olympic-style branding campaign with banners and international flags throughout downtown and the county for these World Games. Right, let's keep going. We're back at the Onondaga Nation Arena just outside Syracuse, New York. I'm Chuck Jaffe with Randy Frazier, head coach of the U.S. Junior National Team. We're watching Canada and the United States. Randy, Canada out to a 10-6 lead. What does the U.S. have to do to get back into this?
Well, the big problem for USA right now is that 10 that Canada put up. They need to hold them and keep them to some reasonable amount of goals. I think if they can hold them to 5 goals here, you know, possibly USA could potentially score 9 goals this half. 6 goals for USA is a decent effort. You know, as far as their offensive schedule goes, 6, 12 for a game, they're on schedule. But right now, the biggest challenge is going to be for their defense to hold them.
So Jordan McIntosh trying to kill clock, being double teamed because Canada still has a player in the box, that player being Brett Metzke. And after a couple of yelps from the Canadian bench that there should have been a penalty, there now is going to be one. Funny side was that they didn't yelp at the thing that finally did it.
Not a good start for Team USA, taking a penalty there on a loose ball. There's no threat to the goal. I didn't have a good view of the actual call. I think it was a holding call. For me, it's a loose ball. It's a possession type call. The referee is giving Canada an advantage here for 2 minutes.
So Greg Downing goes to the box. So Canada and the United States will be 4-on-4 for the next 40 seconds. Then Metzke will be released from the box, and Canada will have a man advantage for 1 minute and 20 seconds.
Canada's real dangerous with all this space in the 4-on-4 situation.
And Dane Smith's shot is stopped, but a little too much pushing back and forth in the front gives the United States the chance to go on the attack.
Yeah, whistle before the shot on the moving pick or the interference.
So the U.S. with Walters, Buchanan, Casey Powell, and Jeff Ratcliffe. Casey Powell flips that, and Ratcliffe can't get it. And they're going to call a penalty on Ratcliffe.
Oh, it's that same ref, too. I don't know about that call either.
Well, because Vince didn't have possession of the ball. So
yeah, I think the other official's going to come over and talk to him here.
well, we'll see what happens. They at least want to know. As a general rule, Vince would have had to have possession of the ball and be grounded in the goal circle in the crease. And it didn't look to me like he had possession, but the ref is going to send him.
Don't like it.
So goalie interference is the call. And now the United States is going to be 2 men down. And for Canada, the trick here is really to score in the first minute and 15 seconds. If they can do that, then they actually get another man advantage, or they keep the man advantage as they keep going. And there's that first goal. It's Mark Matthews from Dan Dawson. Nice and easy for the Canadians.
Yeah, that's almost a hopeless situation for USA there. Those 4 shooters out there and all the space. 3 defenders are trying to play a diamond, a triangle. They rotate. I mean, they're still on him, but he's still 5 yards in front. Perfect.
One of the best shooters in the world.
Oh, man.
Just straight down.
Puts that ball right in the corner.
And they're working hard to go glove side on Mathers. I don't know if they've gotten enough to scout him, or they just figure that younger, less experienced goalies are always going to be a little bit weaker on the glove side than the stick. So the U.S. is man down, does come up with the ball.
Assist number 6, Dan Dawson. Number 92, Dean Smith.
4-on-5 for the United States. Casey Powell with the ball. 8 on the shot clock.
Notice that Casey made a stick change. He didn't have that blue and yellow twig in the first half. He's going to, hopefully this stick will bring him a little more luck.
Well, right now it can't bring him much of anything as they're not trying to get to the net. They just want to kill this penalty time. And a big disadvantage, if you wind up going down, of course, it'd be doubled up at this point if it goes to 12-6 here.
Canada's still on the power.
So Matthews down low, fed in front, and there's Benesh again. Benesh with the quick stick on the feed from Dane Jones. That combination has gotten together more than once today, and now they make the score 12-6 with 12 minutes and 47 seconds remaining in the third period.
I believe that's at least the 4th goal on the power play by Team Canada. Their power play is looking really sharp. USA has got to stay in the box if they hope to contend in this game.
So now they'll be back at even strength. But every time the U.S. gets some momentum, it's not even that they can get back into the game. It's that there's another mistake that winds up putting them down and gives Canada something of an easy goal. So Benesh has his 4th goal of the night. He scored 1/3 of the goals for Canada. That's the other thing about this Canadian team. The goals can come from anybody on any given night. Benesh hadn't done much up until this night in the World Games. That ball goes to Vince after Resiteritz can't hunt it down.
Yeah, it seems like Benesh's real specialty in these games tonight, at least tonight, is getting inside on the power play. He also made a nice inside cut in the second quarter or the first quarter.
So he's been working the inside game. None of his shots would have broken a pane of glass tonight. All of them just nice little finesse plays. Inside tight, little too much action on the offensive pick for Canada. It's going to give the ball back to the United States.
Again, still a lot of time. USA just needs to stick with their game plan, continue to work, try to get stops on the defensive end and get quality shots on their own end.
Garrett Thule's shot is swallowed up by Vince. Brad Self brings the ball forward. You know, Self was a late addition to the Canadian roster. He replaced Brody Merrill. Merrill having been injured and not quite healthy. And this is already such a dominating team, and you think about who is not here for the Canadians. And Benesh scores again, this one from the outside, as that ball hits off of Mather, who's not very happy with himself right now, and gives Canada a 13-6 lead.
Just a straight shot from the top, a little bit of motion. He's able to catch it right in the slot. Puts it short side, ricochets it off of Mather's chest protector and in.
They're basically shooting everything on that off-stick side. Mather's clearly unhappy with himself, walking around, shaking his head. So McIntosh goes back at it with Costabile. Costabile comes away with the ball for the United States, gives it to O'Doherty. And it's now 13-6. Greg Downing with the ball. Being worked on by Paul Dawson. Casey Powell with it, but again, the United States. So they finally have everybody on the floor. Now it's the 6th player with only 5 seconds left. Got to take it if you're going to do anything with it. That ball sails wide. So the U.S. will get a man advantage as Canada player heads to the box. The U.S. sets up heavy right with Powell, Resiteritz, and Ratcliffe on the right side.
Here we'll get a good look at Canada's defense here if they come out in that diamond. Yeah, they're going to come out in that rotating diamond. It drops into a box when it's on the crease, and then up into a diamond when it's up top. A lot of movement out of the defense.
Paul Dawson in the box for Canada. That shot by Buchanan Saved by Vince, but he gets the rebound. Vince punches that ball from Powell away. Fresh 30 for the United States. Powell gets it back. Feeds that across to Walter. Walter feeds it down. Ratcliffe can't handle. Gets it back. And are they going to say it was pushed in? They say he stepped in. So Ratcliffe stepped into the crease, gives the ball back to Canada.
They had the right idea. They skipped it from up top down to Ratcliffe, and he tried to one-time it across to Buchanan. That's the right idea. They just need to execute with their stick work.
Dane Smith gets that over to Paul Dawson. Dawson will kill clock here because Canada's still down. Brett Manny takes a whack. Ryan Hotalon brings the ball forward, gives it to Joe Walters. Canada, despite being man down, is pressing as the United States really still doesn't have even strength. And here you are in the power play, and it's 13 seconds remaining. And Casey Powell still having trouble picking it up. Potential breakaway if Canada can make something happen here. And indeed, Brad Self, one-on-one with Mather. He scores. Brad Self, a shorthanded goal. That's not the first of those tonight. As Team USA has had a real problem playing man up. They're not only not converting too many of the man up opportunities, they're basically about even tonight in terms of what they've given up on those situations.
Yeah, the USA power play is not looking good tonight. Again, a shot from the top, contested shot gets knocked down. Loose ball, midfield ends up going down on their goal, 1-0.
For an inside look at the World Indoor Lacrosse Championship 2015, check out laxallstars.com, a great WILC partner and dedicated to growing the game. U.S. with 20 seconds remaining on its man advantage. Powell down low. Up high. Walter's shot goes wide. Karam's over to Buchanan. Only 4 seconds on the shot clock. Shoots that wide. Rebound comes out to Corbeil. Corbeil already has 2 goals today.
Nice ride.
Walters with a great check. Ratcliffe staved by Vince. Kyle Rubish with the ball in the corner. Picked up there by Ratcliffe. Ratcliffe fighting his way, trying to get free. Double teamed by Metzke and Rubish, and the ball comes out. But they say a push on Canada's defensive duo, Kyle Rubish and Brett Metzke.
That's an early whistle there by that referee. Should have been a play-on situation. They should have let that play continue. I think USA had the advantage there.
That's a lot of people pushing you into the wall when you got Metzke and Rubish on you. Walters with the ball, shoots that one wide. Comes out to Corbeil. Corbeil could have a breakaway again.
Trailers.
I'm sorry, that was not Corbeil, it was Paul Dawson with the ball. Dawson takes a whack. And that one's picked off. Dawson's still heading for the bench. And broken up. And then Brian McGill tries to dive. Is broken up by Steve Priolo. Priolo basically dives on top of McGill. And then Billy D. Smith comes into the play. So we'll see whether or not they send and who they send to the box at this point. If they're consistent, they need to send Priolo to the box.
They got to send Billy D off his floor for that. You can't come into a scrum and drill a guy. This is not the National Lacrosse League. They're not going to let you get away with that here. Yep.
So Priolo should be going for basically landing on McGill after the play was dead. They've been consistently calling that in these games. And then Billy D. Smith should be gone. Whether or not they're going to call Ryan McGill for running the goalie is potentially another call. We'll see what happens. So 84, that means McGill is off, and they called the Canadian penalties. It's going to be match penalties.
And to Team Canada's number 3, Billy D. Smith. 2 minutes each for Ruffin. O'Doherty for the United States.
Thought it was McGill that got called. It was O'Doherty. 4 instead of 84. We'll sort the rest of this out. Our score is Canada 14, the United States 6 here at Onondaga Nation Arena. We'll be back in just a moment. You are watching the 2015 World Indoor Lacrosse Championships on the Universal Sports Network. Welcome back to the Onondaga Nation Arena. I'm Chuck Jaffe with Randy Frazier. Our score, Canada 14, United States 6. 7.5 minutes remaining in the third period. Canada back on the attack. Even strength, although two players are in the penalty box. Chris O'Doherty for the United States. Billy D. Smith for Canada. Joel White picks up the ball. The play was stopped for a technical foul. And the United States goes back in the attack. Blaze Reardon, Frank Resiteritz, United States, heavy right. Casey Powell, Resiteritz, and Radcliffe. Reardon guarded by Ryan Dokes. Fed across, Resiteritz shot. Picked up by Brad Self. Self scored the last goal for Canada. Feeds this one off to Jordan McIntosh. And, you know, Randy, you talked about Jordan McIntosh being a transition player and today playing forward. So that's where, you know, with Sean Evans and Curtis Dixon out, they bring Brad Self into the lineup. And Zach Greer can't convert that one as it hits off the post, and they say he's in the crease. It'll be U.S. ball.
Yeah, the Canadian roster is really defensive heavy. You know, when I looked at it, saw those two scratches today, I said, wow, you know, who was going to play forward, and to only have two righty forwards for the whole game, that's just too much of a load to carry. So I was curious to see what they would do, and Jordan was their answer.
And yet it also looks like Canada's gone heavy right almost 50% of the time. And we'll see whether they come out with 2 or 3 righties this time, but here comes McIntosh. It's 3 lefties this time. McIntosh picks up the loose ball, guarded by Donnie Moss, who dogs him. And
a little inexperience there. Play the whistle, Donnie.
I think everyone thought the whistle had blown, as did I, actually. I think Moss thought he had heard a whistle. Sailed his shot wide. Dane Smith with the ball taken away by Brett Manny. Brett Manny, who plays for the New England Black Wolves, comes away with the loose ball. Gets it to Moss. I'm sorry, gets it to Ryan Hotaling. Hotaling to Garrett Thule. Interesting for the United States, sort of how they've been mixing it up, going heavy right and left most of the time, heavy right tonight. Earlier in the games, they spent more of their time being heavy left. Of course, they didn't have Casey Powell for all of the games. They only got Casey in for yesterday's game.
Well, a lot of times you'll run the strong side or the heavy side towards the bench so that you can get your offensive players off the floor quickly. So you also often will see that adjust from quarter to quarter on which side is going to be the strong side.
So McIntosh with the ball, working against Jeff Reynolds, over to Benesh. Benesh's shot sails away. And we're going to see a penalty on that one. As Costabile, playing without his stick, basically knocks the ball away. And it was Steve Priolo, who's a defensive player, who was playing forward at that point. Had stayed on, never came off the floor as Canada transitioned.
Yeah, heavy cross check in the back.
That will leave a mark, but whether or not it'll leave a mark on the scoreboard, we'll have to see in just a few moments. We've got Canada in the box for two, Steve Priolo.
Team Canada penalty number 23.
So United States trailing 14-6 will have the man advantage. And they come out.
See if they can work the skip and then look to go crease to crease against this diamond.
So Resiteritz to Buchanan to Walters to Powell to Walters, down to Buchanan, across. And Ratcliffe cannot handle that. Casey Powell gets it. There was a fresh shot clock. Ratcliffe can't can that one, and they say he's in the crease. And here's Kevin Buchanan riding for the U.S.
Good ball movement that time by USA. They got a couple good chances.
Metzke throws an errant pass, but Zach Greer's able to get it and gives it over to Dane Smith. So Smith, McIntosh, Matthews, and Greer on the floor for Canada. Down 4 on 5. 8 seconds left on the shot clock. Matthews with a little body check, and Smith gets it fresh 30, and then, I'm sorry, it's not Smith, it was
McIntosh.
It was McIntosh.
And he drew a penalty.
And then he drew a penalty, getting hit in the face.
Great play. He's able to get a shot on net, get his own rebound. Hold his stick way out in front of him. Defender went for the check and hit him in the head, and he drew a penalty.
So shot wide there by Greer. Touched but not possessed by McGill. Gets into Matthews. He shoots that. It hits off Mathers, and U.S. covers the ball. But that will negate the last 39 seconds of penalty time. So the United States goes to the box.
Will be 4 on 4 for this
United
offensive
States
set.
penalty number 8, Greg Downing.
Greg Downing gets his second penalty of the night.
2 minutes for slashing, time of penalty, 11.
National Lacrosse League fans will be excited to know that Greg Downing has just signed an extended contract with the Colorado Mammoth. Greg, who now lives out in Colorado. But right now he resides in the penalty box. And we're 4 on 4 for 40 seconds. That pass knocked down in front as Adam Jones tried to feed it. Jones working a two-man game with Benesh. Dan Dawson picks it up, 10 on the shot clock. Little push, Dawson feeds that behind the back. Nice stop by Mather. And the U.S. will come up with the ball, but in 4 seconds, they will be man down. So you get Powell with Walters, Resiteritz, and Reardon.
Some great examples of two-man play there for Team Canada. Dan Dawson and Dan Dawson setting up his teammate Dane Smith inside. Got a good quality shot out off of it.
That ball goes into the corner. Fresh 30 if the U.S. can come up with it. Resiteritz. And they'll say that he was covering the ball, not pushed down over it. So the ball comes back to Canada. 50 seconds remaining on the penalty to Greg Downing. So Canada will have at least this possession. They are heavy left. So Matthews, Benesh, and Jones. On the right side, it's McIntosh and Dawson. Benesh already with 4 goals today. Matthews shoots that as the clock expires, and
Fly
Brett
ball.
Manny has a breakaway.
Why not push that, Brett?
Well, there's 16 seconds of penalty time to kill, but when you're down 14 to 6, that's
they need goals.
Yeah. Kevin Buchanan drives in front, feeds that down low. That one gets away, that pass. Casey Powell clearly has not dialed the stick in yet. Now the good news in terms of him dialing the stick in is that if the United States loses this game, they are guaranteed of finishing basically third in the group, which will mean they have to play a quarterfinal game as Joel White drives the ball down. That's an extra game for them. And then they would match up, presumably, against the Iroquois for the right to play in the gold medal game. So if a delay of game penalty, too many men on the floor for Canada, that will give the U.S. a man advantage with 49 seconds remaining. But Randy, we're talking about an extra potential game for the United States. I mean, at this point, is that a good thing? Is you've played a bunch of games in a week? Is it I'd rather be resting guys, or is it as you look at this team? Come on, if they're going to step up against the Iroquois in Canada.
No, I think that it's their advantage. They need to play together more. You know, these guys, plain and simple, they just need to get used to each other a little bit. It's obvious that they're out of sorts. You know, for same kind of look against Team Iroquois. They just seem to be out of sorts. Their stick handling is sloppy. They don't really know where each other are going. They haven't worked all their offensive plays and all their systems into place. So I think the extra game is an advantage.
Resetaritz cannot bang that home. Resetaritz made a great play to prevent a breakaway earlier in that possession. There's 20 seconds remaining in the third period. There's a minute and 30 seconds remaining in the man down, roughly, so Canada will kill clock, try to get to the end of the period. 30-second shot clock is turned off. That one's fed in front. Mathers grabs it, feeds it down the floor. And we have come to the end of the third period. Your score at Onondaga Nation Arena is Canada 14, the United States 6. You are watching the 2015 World Indoor Lacrosse Championships on the Universal Sports Network. We're back at the Onondaga Nation Arena in Nedrow, just outside of Syracuse. I'm Chuck Jaffe, joined by Randy Frazier, head coach of the U.S. Junior National Team. Our score, Canada 14, USA 6. And by the way, the games here have brought together partners as diverse as Destiny Mall, Galaxy Communications, and the Bill Belichick Foundation. The World Indoor Lacrosse Championships appreciates that support. So the U.S. gets the ball. They are man up at this point. Heavy left.
They switched it up a little bit.
Reardon down low. Buchanan and Walters. Walters high.
Walters at the point. Good skips. They just got to.
Resiteritz couldn't handle the
execute.
first pass, tries to feed it to Buchanan, can't get it. Helicopter as that ball goes flying away, but Canada ties it up. The only good news for the United States there, aside from the always thrilling feeling when you get to helicopter a guy, is that if they had not done that, it might have been a breakaway for Canada. So Canada playing man-down offense. Randy, as you look at this game and you look at the U.S., which has been trying to get out of the spot of finishing third. It's finished third in every World Games. Is there something you think that they need to do? I mean, is there, beyond developing goalies and what have you, what can the U.S. do?
Well, it's got to be a commitment to youth and growing the box game in the United States. I mean, it started with all the success that Canada has and the Iroquois players, Lyle Thompson and Miles. People are starting to recognize the importance of box lacrosse to make you a better lacrosse player overall and better field player. But it needs to just continue to grow, and there needs to be more support from U.S. Lacrosse, and get more kids playing at a younger age. And then in turn, we'll start to see a nice goal by Kevin Buchanan.
Kevin Buchanan completes his hat trick, shooting from the outside, beating Matt Vince.
There needs to be more opportunity for the young players to play. You know, it was nice this summer to have the U19 junior team to be able to compete at a high level and have that group of kids all summer, to work with them all summer. And
Kevin Buchanan shot, that was one of those ones that just kind of slid past. Vince kind of looking, going, I missed that? For you, Randy, as you look at developing talent, has the development of the box game and the players who have come from Canada and the Iroquois Nationals to play college ball in the United States, has it done enough to encourage American college players to pick up the box game, whether it's in the summer or when they're younger and still in high school?
Honestly, not really. The current crop of college players, there are very few. We're starting to see maybe some of the freshmen, some of the younger kids are looking for opportunities. But we're seeing it in the high school ranks, where high school players are starting to look for those opportunities. And unfortunately, the opportunities are only in Canada. There may be there's also some opportunities in Syracuse and in the Rochester area, and in Vermont, the Vermont Voyagers. There's some opportunities for the younger kids, for the high school kids. But there needs to be more program growth, and there are a few programs out there, U.S. Indoor, U.S. Boxla, that are running programs for the younger kids, and the popularity of the game is starting to catch on. I think in turn what we'll see is players that will start to have some experience as they go through college, and hopefully we'll see a resurgence of some Americans in the National Lacrosse League, where at one time there were many. There are very few right now, and that'll lead to better play on the international level.
Great play there, diving effort by McGill, fed in front. Buchanan can't finish as Matt Vince comes up with that save. So it's going to be Canada ball coming out, and we've been end-to-end here for the last minute or two. Dan Coates gives it off to Adam Jones. Coates heads to the bench.
The goal for Team USA right now is just to win this quarter. I don't think there's much of a chance of them coming back and winning this game. But try to end on a good note, win the quarter, build towards the medal rounds.
Dane Smith stopped, and there's Benesh. Benesh, who has been absolutely deadly from in close, can't get that one by David Mather.
That's got to feel good for Mather. Two nice stops.
Joe Walter with the ball. Feeds that to Blaze Reardon. Reardon, who is a goalie in field lacrosse, nearby at the University of Albany.
Nice two-man play. Joe drawing the double, kicking it up top, and Reardon for a nice shot.
Canada has numbers here if they keep with the trailer. Dan Dawson slows it down instead. Priolo staying out on the offensive play. Zach Greer tries to finish. Instead has to slow it down. Dan Dawson feeds that across. Again, look at the ball movement from side to side. Mark Matthews steps in the crease.
Good defense on the two lefties. Matthews and Greer just present such a challenge for you defensively. It was a nice job by the two defenders there.
Casey Powell with the ball. Shoots that. Vince didn't know where the rebound was, but he had it. Ball comes out. Manny and O'Doherty. Again, Canada with numbers. U.S. slow to get back into its defensive zone. Canada coming out the front door. Now goes the other way. Buchanan with a breakaway. Vince with the save. The pressure applied by Chris Corbeil. There are not that many guys who can gain any ground or even keep up with Kevin Buchanan. That was quite a foot race.
Yeah, it's a couple of world-class athletes there.
Dan Dawson gets the ball down low. Jordan McIntosh with it.
Good switch. They doubled. Someone's
McIntosh.
open.
That ball stopped by Mather.
So this fourth quarter, the offensive doors are close to the opposition's goaltender and goal. So you're going to see these offensive guys spilling out right onto goal, and it should create some good transition opportunities for both teams.
So, Resiterit's shot is stopped. Rebound picked up by Reardon. Over to Walters. Comes over the top, gets it inside. Nice stop there. Ratcliffe loses his stick. Thule battles. And the Army Ranger comes down with it, flips it in front though. And Ryan Dilks gets it a little behind the back pass. But Thule gets the ball back. So they've got a fresh 30 and a numbers advantage. Walters shoots that off of Vince's leg. Walters then creates a turnover from Dilks, but Canada comes up with the ball. Nice play in the corner by Rubish to get that ball. Kyle Rubish, Canada's assistant captain. Dan Dawson, the captain. So Dane Jones has the ball. That shot after the whistle by Adam Jones. And the ball comes up with Costabile. CJ Costabile played 2 years with the Philadelphia Wings. And now it's Kevin Buchanan. Buchanan has a hat trick today. Can't connect with Thule there. Resiteritz. And Casey Powell misses it, and then they stand there. It's 1-0 right now. Brad Self scores his second breakaway goal of the day. It's Canada 15, USA 7. And this is one of those cases where, as you watch it, what should have been done differently?
Well, it was a sloppy play, and the USA was getting a little, playing loose.
So
and, eventually it's going to cost them.
And in this case, it cost them. We will take a timeout. You're watching the 2000. I'm sorry, no, we will not take a timeout. Action continues here.
Great ground ball by Rubish there, picking it out of the faceoff circle.
Gets that down.
3-on-2 develops.
So Matthews out. Now, if you're Canada at this point, Randy, do you keep pouring it on? Or do you try to play?
You keep pouring it on. You keep playing hard. You take what comes to you. They may play a little bit on the conservative side, but they're going to still continue to shoot and look for their opportunities and try to play good lacrosse.
It will be the United States ball when we return, but our score here is 15-7 in favor of Canada. We've come to a break in the action. We will take it with them. You're watching the 2015 World Indoor Lacrosse Championships on the Universal Sports Network.
let's stomp. Left foot, let's stomp. Cha-cha, real smooth. Turn it out. To the left. Take it back now, y'all. One hop this time. Right foot, let's stomp. Left foot, let's stomp. Cha-cha now, y'all. Now it's time to get funky. To the right now. To the left. Take it back now, y'all. One hop this time. One hop this time. Right foot, 2 stumps. Left foot, 2 stumps. Slide to the left. Slide to the right. Crisscross. Crisscross. Cha-cha, real smooth. Let's go to work. To the left. Take it back now, y'all.
Sign your child up for the Syracuse Stingers Box Lacrosse Camp and get 2 tickets to the gold and bronze medal games in the Carrier Dome. World-class coaches and other gifts and prizes. Details at SyracuseStingersLacrosse.com. Catch the buzz.
Come on. Cha-cha now, y'all. Turn it out.
Welcome back to Onondaga Nation Arena. 7 minutes and 22 seconds remaining in regulation. And if this one goes as it appears to, it means the United States will play a quarterfinal game, hopefully en route to a rematch with the Iroquois before the gold medal game, and if it can get into the gold medal game. So, Randy, here's the real question. Either way, for the U.S. to get back into this, they, of course, and not today's game, but in this tournament, they're going to need to go through the 2 teams that have defeated them. Have you seen things? Do you look on paper and say, yeah, I can see these results being different if these teams play again in a week or in less than a week?
That's a tough one, Chuck. I do like their chances better against the Iroquois team. I think the size of the Canadian defense and just the size and skill of the Canadian offensive players, I think the U.S. would have a tough time beating them.
Mather with that save.
The Iroquois a little bit smaller. I think the Iroquois team's maybe more skilled. I think either way, they're going to be big underdogs. And it will be a great accomplishment for them to get into the gold and silver game, to get into the gold medal game.
And let's handicap the Canadians as well. Canada's never lost a game in this tournament. They have come close. If they get a rematch, mostly with the Iroquois, since we've discussed their chances with the U.S., as Dane Smith scores again to make it 16-7. So Dane Smith with a nice under move there, getting under his defender into the front of the net, scoring with just over 6 minutes left.
A little bit of an overplay, bad positioning by the defender.
And no help.
No help. Leaves the goalie out, hang him out to dry.
So when you watch the Canada team dominant tonight, and you think about a rematch with the Iroquois, that was a game that was close, and then, in fact, the Iroquois looked at one point like they had control of the game. Do you think that one can turn out differently?
Definitely. I mean, we've seen some of the best box lacrosse games I've ever seen were between Canada and the Iroquois in the previous World Games, overtime games, 1-goal games, late lead changes, phenomenal play. So I expect nothing more, nothing less than that, come this weekend. I'm really looking forward to the gold medal game.
Let's give a reminder that right here on Universal Sports Television, we'll be carrying the gold medal game live on Sunday the 27th at 4 p.m. Eastern from the Syracuse University Carrier Dome.
Tomorrow right here at the Onondaga Nation Arena.
So the United States will come back on the ball. So Joe Walters with the ball. U.S. with a full shot clock. Casey Powell with the ball. Casey has not scored today. Hasn't really had many opportunities. A lot of shots late in the shot clock. Reardon drilled. Great play from the floor. To keep the ball going for Canada. And Priolo with that play. I'm sorry, Corbett with that play. And another goal for Canada. Down low.
Yeah, Dane Smith again getting underneath his defender, putting the ball through the 5-hole.
And when you look at the body language of the U.S. now, pretty dejected. And Dane Smith right there, that's 5-hole. Let's not blame that one on the defender, should we? That really looked like it was the goalie's fault.
Yeah, you'd like to see your goalie come up with that save, but again, you know, the guy's on top of your goaltender, uncontested. You know, Dane gets inside of you like that. He's gonna either put it low, put it high. Goalie's kind of, you know, guessing where the ball's gonna go, where the shot's gonna come from. So, I can't fault the goalie completely on that one.
Greg Downing goes 1-on-3, gets drilled to the floor by Billy D. Smith. Gets a whack in on the way back. Earlier in the game, that might have been called a slash, but Dan Coates just absorbed a shot to the head.
I'd be surprised if Canada looked to score over 20 here. I think that might be a kind of a show of poor sportsmanship if they continue to pile on here. USA just needs to play solid, not give it up.
4 minutes left in the game.
Not play so soft that they give up these shots.
Well, they gave up that shot to Zach Greer, and Zach Greer finishes a feed from Dan Dawson to make it 18-7.
Again, USA is overplaying a little bit. Ball watching, leaving a man open in the middle.
Dawson again, here's that feed.
USA defender's got to be on his man there. Tighter on his man. These guys will throw to the open stick. You have to have your stick across their stick.
Well, and I was going to say, that's, as you watch that play, I think the novice would have looked and said that wasn't bad coverage. But that's part of the difference in the box game. In the field game, that coverage might have been okay. But
yeah,
in the indoor game,
you have to be right on their stick.
And the goal scored by number 88.
And that really does mean across his hands, not just with the stick.
Assist number 6, Dan Dawson.
Sort of in the neighborhood, correct?
Correct.
At 11:02.
So the U.S. goes back on the attack. I think at this point they would settle for not being doubled up by the Canadians. Joe Walters stripped there by Kyle Rubish. Going to get a delay of game penalty. Frustration showing there. Joe Walters just hacked at the stick of Steve Priolo as Priolo was going to get the ball. In indoor lacrosse, when the ball is dropped, when the whistle blows, the ball needs to be dropped. When it's dropped, you don't stand over it. You don't do anything that's going to stop the other team from picking it up. A little frustration there from Joe Walters.
Yep. Joe has shown that, throughout the tournament. A little bit of immaturity. I saw him go palms up a couple times, and those are the type of plays that a mature player doesn't make.
So Mark Matthews over to Dan Dawson, Dane Smith, they're heavy right again. Jordan McIntosh down low. So Matthews in front. Good save by Mathers, but the ball pops out to McIntosh for a fresh 30-second shot clock. 3 minutes remaining in regulation, 1 minute and 35 seconds on the penalty to Joe Walters.
I really shouldn't have said that it would have showed poor sportsmanship, have the Canadians put up to 20. I mean, they're going to continue to play hard, and if the goals come, the goals come.
It's not their job to stop scoring, is what I'm really saying. To borrow a mantra from Bill Belichick, whose foundation is a sponsor of this event. I'm going to see a penalty there as Kevin Buchanan gets drilled. Billy D. Smith will go back to the box. Little shot in towards the head.
And this is a tremendous rivalry. USA-Canada rivalry crosses over field and box, and there were decades of dominance by USA Lacrosse in the field, and we're taking our lumps in the box and the field
and
now.
At this point, that's the other side. That's where you would think that perhaps the U.S. would develop, having seen what Canada has done on the field in large measure because of its box skills. Or is that giving the box game too much credit?
No, I would agree with that statement 100%.
Reardon, nice loose ball.
they've also committed themselves, to the field game as well, and the two of them combined have led to, a superior, maybe a more consistent and superior player across the board.
Kevin Buchanan with the ball. Tries another inside move, gets shoved into the goal circle, and it's going to get called. So evidently, Steve Priolo pushed him after he had caught the crease line, and it'll be Canada with time to kill. So Canada brings out the 4 men to play, and that's what you're talking about, that commitment to the field game versus the commitment to the box. The Canadians have basically committed to both, but a good positive step with this team in some respects, watching the national governing body, U.S. Lacrosse, get into this game. But perhaps a little bit too late for this World Games, as they were not involved early on.
An example would be if you watch old tapes of Canadian teams in the 80s and the early 90s, is their long poles. They didn't have skilled long poles, and they committed to teaching that and working with those guys over some time, and now they have some of the best long poles in the world. Brody Merrill, for example.
Yep. Brody Merrill, who is not here for Team Canada because he hasn't been healthy, replaced by Brad Self. And they haven't missed Brody tonight, and Self has scored 2 goals. Canada still down for 12 seconds. Mark Matthews with the ball. So 13 seconds on the shot clock, 30 seconds or so on the game clock. 18-7 our score. Vanessa's shot took a weird hop. Ball comes up now to the U.S. Kevin Buchanan has it. Takes an outside shot saved by Vince. Resiteritz can't come up with the rebound. Picked up by Brett Metzke. He's got enough time to get there if he wants to. He's going to slow things down. And that will do it. So we've come to the end of our game. Your score here at Onondaga Nation Arena: Canada 18, the USA 7. A disappointing result for Team USA. Randy, this was something of a mismatch. If you're the USA, do you come away disappointed that you couldn't, A, keep it closer, and B, that it was as dominant as it turned out to be?
Very disappointed in the second half. I thought first half-wise, they kept in the game. Their defense was a little bit shaky, but they put up some good numbers offensively. In the second half, their offense was just anemic.
So the U.S. had a few highlights, kept it close in the first half, but then it was Canada pouring it on in the second half. So after we got the U.S. getting close with a few goals, Canada poured it on, blew it out in the second half, comes away with an 18-7 victory. And we'll be back to wrap things up in just a moment. You've been watching the 2015 World Indoor Lacrosse Championships on the Universal Sports Network. Lots to cheer for if you're Canada tonight. Started off early with a couple of goals, including that nice finish from Zach Greer before the USA got on the board with Kevin Buchanan. And after Jordan McIntosh scored, Captain America scored a second flying goal. But as the USA tried to get back into the game, Canada kept working the inside game, and it was Ryan Benesh there and later. And Jordan McIntosh, well, he proved he can fly as well with that goal. The U.S. closed the gap going towards halftime. Joe Walters finishing a Casey Powell feed. Benesh with another goal to keep things going for the Canadians. But then the U.S. still brought things closer with Joe Resetarits and Walters again as we got to the first half, thinking it's 10-6 and things are closer. Second half, different story. Canada dominated the second half, extending its lead. There from Mark Matthews. Here, Benesh yet again, his fourth goal of the night. Brad Self with the first of two breakaways as Canada had a number of long runs. And while Kevin Buchanan finished a hat trick, Self got one here. And then Dane Smith started to dominate the board late. This move in front, and then this move with a defender draped on him. Finally, Zach Greer, who started our highlights, closed our highlights. Canada wins 18-7 over the United States. I'm Chuck Jaffe. I've been joined all night by Randy Frazier, head coach of the U.S. Junior National Team. Thanks so much for watching us. Remember, the gold medal game next weekend, the 27th, live on the Universal Sports Network. Thanks so much for joining us. You've been watching the 2015 World Indoor Lacrosse Championships on the Universal Sports Network.